What was your very first symptom you noticed, and what was your reaction? Had you previously heard of ALS, or did you assume it was something else?
Very first symptom was foot drop. My left foot dropped in January of 22, and my right foot dropped in March of 22. And I was diagnosed in August of 22.
Had you heard of ALS when you were first diagnosed?
I've heard of it, but that's all. Lou Gehrig's disease, that's all I heard. Didn't know much more about it than that. Just said he was a baseball player and had the Gehrig's, and that's all he knows.
How your journey would you say compared to perhaps what you expected initially, based off family, media, doctors, or anything else?
How's my journey compared to what expected? My journey, I guess if there's one thing I've been lucky with is that it's been slow progressing. So it affects my legs. I started using a wheelchair probably this summer. Before that, I was using a walker. I just retired from teaching school last October. So it's been a slow progressing thing. And if there's anything to be grateful for, that's it.
And then how have you connected with others with ALS? And from those connections, have you seen your story align or diverge with the others?
I connect with a lot of people with ALS on the Zoom meetings with Northern Utah, and I think Jared. I think you might have talked to Jared. He's the one that gave you my name. And then I sit in on Zoom meetings with women of ALS out of, well, she's out of Colorado, but they're out of Massachusetts, Rhode Island. Some are back in Connecticut, and me in Wyoming, but most of them are back east, the women.
Have you found those support groups to be helpful in talking about your diagnosis and other aspects of your?
I find it more helpful now than what I used to. When I first started sitting in on those meetings, they're kind of scary, because here I am just diagnosed, and here's everybody else further advanced, and it's like, holy crap.
What misconceptions about ALS progression or ALS in general would you want to help correct?
Boy, that's a interesting one. I didn't know how to answer that one. I don't know about what misconceptions. What have other people said? Have you
So
stuck out to you?
mostly, I feel like a lot of people think that ALS is like very typical and everyone has very similar like, progressions or very similar like timelines, or like it always attacks a certain body part first, but there's a lot of variety that people don't consider.
There's huge variety. Because every time I ask what's next, they're like, well, everybody's different. And I get so sick and tired of hearing that, but everybody's different. Where they're progressing, and sometimes it can jump. But, just because it started in my knees doesn't mean it's not going to affect my lungs, which it has already. So it's like, well, that was a hell of a jump, But yeah, it doesn't start there and work its way up. It does what it does, and everybody's so different. We're all the same, but then we're all different.
Would you say you defy the common stereotype of someone with ALS in any ways?
Then I defy it
Yeah.
as much as I can. As much as I can. I mean, read that question one more time. How do I defy? I'm going to keep going as long as I can, ALS or not. I just retired last year, each in 25 years. And that was a tough thing to do, but I had it. I worked for 2 years still after I was diagnosed, which I could have failed and came home and sat around, but no, I was still going to work. I'm still going to do what I'm going to do. It's been hard. Makes me angry, but I'm not ready to throw in the towel. So if I defy anything, I defy the disease. You know?
What do you think's unique about ALS that other diseases don't have that same ability?
I don't know if it's unique, but it's rare. Until you get it, then you hear of all these other people that have it. But you don't hear about it. You know, people have multiple sclerosis, they have Parkinson's disease, there's cancer, there's arthritis, there's, excuse me, all kinds of stuff. But not ALS, not Lou Gehrig's disease, until you get it. Then all these people pop out of the woodwork. You're like, really? Never knew.
Would you say there's any core experiences or values that unite people across the ALS community?
Core experiences or values?
Yeah. So is there anything like resilience or a shared experience like with foot drop or anything that connects members of the ALS
For a lot
community?
of people with the foot drama, unless it starts up in their lungs. And then that's the bulbar, and I don't have that, but I've heard of a lot of people say they just had foot drop. They kept falling down and didn't know why they were falling down, and it's like they finally went to this doctor, but that doctor, and finally figured it out. I went to 5 neurologists, and they all told me the same thing, but I didn't believe it. So after the tip floor, it's like, maybe they do know something.
Walk me through a typical morning now after diagnosis. What still feels familiar and what differs?
Typical morning is I get up and do very little. You know, I get up, take my medicine, get some coffee, sit around, check my emails, see what's going on in the world. Compared to when I didn't have it, I was up and ready and gone to school to teach. I'm a teacher of the deaf, so I teach the hearing impaired kids. So I was up and gone and out the door and starting my day at school with a bunch of little kids running around. So it's changed immensely. I'm very much a social person. I like people. I like being around other people. And kids bring you to life. They're too funny. They're just too funny. So they bring you to life. And you're there. You're enjoying it. You got things going on. They got structure. Here, since the diagnosis, sometimes I don't even get out of the house for a couple days.
What thing would you say you miss most about teaching? Is it the kids or is it something other aspects?
The kids.
Is it their joy or what is it about the kids that excites you?
They come in to see me and see if I got anything to eat. Especially middle school and high school kids. They're always starving. You know, the little kids. The little kids like you. They want to hang on you and stuff. And the middle school kids, they like brush you off because they're too smart for you. And the high school kids are decent. They're turning into adults. And they're pretty good. But they're always hungry. Somebody's always hungry. You know, so it's been fun. And I always had a stash in my room of pretzels or something for them.
What led you to working in special education?
I have a 30-year-old deaf daughter, profoundly deaf, and I have a 29-year-old autistic son. And the deaf daughter, she was diagnosed when I was going to college. I was going to go into social work. So I got my bachelor's in psychology. And then they diagnosed her as being deaf because such a language delay that I got, well, now what are you going to do? So, and deafness isn't that common either, unless you're back in a major metropolitan area. But in Wyoming, no. So I went, changed directions, went to school. Sorry. Went to school, become a deaf ed teacher. But I didn't have a teaching certificate, so I had to step into special ed, get that, and back at the deaf ed. So I went and did that and figured out what we need to do. For my daughter, for a lot of other little hearing impaired kids. Whereas Wyoming, we're out here.
How do you say similar to being deaf in Wyoming, how would you say it's a challenge to have something rare like ALS in Wyoming?
Say that one more time.
Such as being deaf in Wyoming is rare and there's
Right.
not so many resources, how would you say that also relates to having ALS, which is a rare disease within Wyoming?
It is a rare disease until you get into it, but I feel like a spectacle. Because what I have is so different. I don't want to be pitied. I don't want to stand out. I just want to blend in, just like I used to. And now that I've been diagnosed with the ALS, Lou Gehrig's, it's like, especially in town of 6,000, everybody knows. Oh, that's her.
Would you say there's anything so you said that outside perspectives have shifted to see you just as someone who has ALS. How do you say you fight to remain keep it like how do you say you fight to keep your identity and keep the person you are going?
With, with some people that I talk to, I talk about everything else, but I don't want to talk about the ALS. I talk about other stuff I do, my hobbies that I do, and the grandkids that I get to go see, the fun that I have with them and what they do, and stuff that cracks me up. We live on the edge of town, as you can see. We got raccoons, we got skunks, we got squirrels, we got antelope hanging out under the clothesline over there. I have all kinds of things to talk about. That's fun and interesting and brings me joy and not just dwell on what I got cool.
So you mentioned your grandkids. How do you say that your family has helped you throughout this process?
Well, there's helping me like get this paper, pull this chair around, put the dog out. There's that kind of helping, but there's the an emotional connection that supports me the most. So what? Load the chair, throw the dog out into the garbage, whatever. But to be there and just listen.
Would you say any relationships with, such as your spouse, children, grandchildren, or your friends, or anything else, has changed since diagnosis?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have the brand connections. I used to be a teacher, so teachers have all these teacher friends. And now that I'm not in that setting anymore, I go hardly have any friends. So I just have my immediate family. Um,
How do you say, since diagnosis, your relationship with your family has changed? Would you say it's strengthened a lot or just morphed into a different kind of way of support? Or how would you say that it's shaped?
oh, it's changed a lot. Um, Jacob, who has high functioning autism, I depend on him a lot more, and he's owned up to it. He's come across, he's okay. He helps me out when he can. If I ask him for something, he's right there. My daughter, she lives in Utah. I could call her on the phone and talk for an hour, you know. And then my husband, he helps me out quite a bit. Have we gotten stronger together? I think so. I think because we know it's coming down the pipe.
Can you share any stories of unexpected kindness within your family or outside that you've received?
I think I looked at that one. Unexpected kindness. And I didn't have anything to put there. What number are we on?
We're on 7B.
7. Yeah. No. Oh, well, I did pencil it something. And that was that Jared referred me to you. So I thought that was pretty cool because he works with a lot of people. A lot. And he referred me to you. So I thought that was pretty good.
So you said you lost a lot of the connections outside of your family based off like retiring and all of that transition.
Yeah.
Would you say there's any ties, whether it's like a family friend or friends outside of the school system, that you've still kept and they've still helped you in this process?
I do. I have one. I have a friend I talk to. She's in California. She's a sign language interpreter. And we used her quite a bit on Zoom meetings. On Zoom meetings with kids that we had. And I got to know her, got to know what she has going. Everybody's got something going on. You would think so. She was always cheery and happy and whatever, signing. But she has a lot going on medically with her husband and stuff. And so we get together and all sit out in the garage and we'll do a Zoom, not a Zoom, but a FaceTime and just talk. And she supports me and I support her just by talking to each other. We talked a little bit about what's going on and the rest of it we talk about something else, something that's enjoyable. But I give her a connection because she's pretty isolated too. And that's been about my only friend that I've still connected with. Teacher friend. I have a neighbor, but not too much.
How has your ALS United chapter helped you in this process, whether it's through like information, accessibility equipment, or anything as such?
They've given me a lot of equipment. They've answered questions. So they have provided information. They've given me equipment that I need. And if I need to call somebody, I can. They provide counseling services. And I can do that. I don't always do it. I can.
What other resources, such as nurses, local clinics, or anything?
Home and hospital comes
Okay.
to see me to provide occupational therapy and physical therapy. And nurse comes once a week and just kind of checks on me, takes blood pressure, whatever. Make sure I'm doing okay. See if I have any pain, which I don't have any pain. The muscles are just doing their thing, but they don't hurt. So I don't really have any pain. But some people have the ALS and they got something else going on. So they are in a tremendous amount of pain. I'm just lucky or not. So I would.
When you do feel discouraged, even if it's not from pain or it's muscle weakness or trouble to speak, anything else, what keeps you going? What keeps you motivated?
Your family. That's what I try to turn to my family.
Is there anything in particular that they do that helps you keep going?
Listen to me. Don't try to tell me what to do because you don't know. You don't know. But to listen. Let me get it out. Because otherwise it's just going to come out at the weirdest time. Eating potato chips and dropping on the floor and have a freaking meltdown. Because it's all been built up.
Would you say, especially given there's not many people in Wyoming with ALS, would you say sharing your story has impacted anyone locally or any services such as ALS United's coverage, or basically how has your story impacted the people outside of your family and close friends?
I've had other teachers tell me while I was still teaching that I make it look easy. Because I came to work every day, I did my job, I did what I was supposed to do. I struggled walking, but I had walking sticks there for a while, and those helped out a lot. But I had physical therapists with the school district. She goes, Tommy, you make it look easy. And I thought that was weird. But that's about it. There.
Have you done anything with ALS United or other ALS groups to?
I have not.
Okay.
All I do is just maybe sit on the Zoom meetings and talk with other people. And everybody's at such a varying degree of where they're at that sometimes I try to be supportive of others. Like I saw this one lady, she just cried the whole time. And I text, and it was with Jared, and I messaged Jared privately. I said, Mom, Kimber's having a hard time. He goes, yeah, I see that. So then before we ended this Zoom session, I got her phone number and another lady's phone number. We kind of been messaging each other. Because this is support. You know, and she goes, I don't know why it was such a bad day. It just was. But this is a support, you know.
Can you recall a moment recently that's surprised you with laughter or joy?
Oh my gosh. Tough talk. I can't think of anything right offhand. Oh, I guess my old granddaughter, she's 4. She FaceTimes me at the weirdest times. She's figured it out on the iPad, so I get 4 or 5 of them a day, and they're fun. She's like, Gaga, what are you doing? You know, and then she shows me how she can do flips off the baby's crib, how she could run around, and she's got these cats. Hers are Barbie, and then next thing I know, I'm like looking at the ceiling because she's got the iPad running around, and that brings me a tremendous amount of joy because I have fun with that.
Are there any goals, big or small, that you're still pursuing today?
All I have a hobby that I'm still pursuing today, and I guess the goal is to get the dang thing done. So,
What would you say your hobby entails?
what my hobby is?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Where'd my notebook is? Would you get my notebook out of the bedroom, out of the office, Rick? I have to show you a picture.
Got you.
I refinish old vintage trunks. Like from the 1800s. Yeah. And I refinish them. I buy them. They look like junk. I take before and after pictures. So before, after. And I refinish those. But some of them are a lot of work. Well, they all are a lot of work. But I refinish them. They give me joy. I get to hear a little bit about the history of them. I have a friend I contact back in Rhode Island that has any parts I need. And then he'll also tell me what year the trunk was made. I think he restores them professionally. I just refinish them. But it's a lot of history, you know.
Well, would you say it's mainly the history that entertains you, or is it just something that you could focus your mind on?
I love it when I buy an old trunk and I look at it and it's like, oh my gosh. And when I get it done, it's beautiful again. I get to have a piece of that. And I sell them. Haven't sold them for quite a while, but just word of mouth. People know that what I do and they come and look for them. But they're just history. But like for me, it's to take something old and bring it back to life. You know, I enjoy that.
Would you say there's anything you would advise people newly diagnosed to consider or think about or do?
Try to connect with somebody. You know, I wouldn't connect with somebody who's, how do I say this? I wouldn't connect with somebody who's like totally involved yet if I just was already diagnosed. Find somebody else kind of like where you're at, in that stage where you're at. Make a connection with them. Somebody to talk to. What do you do? When's the time to get a wheelchair? How do I use this walker? Do I have to use a walker? Is there something else? Just somebody to talk to when the different stages come along.
What would you want others, mainly outside the ALS community, to understand about ALS?
Oh gosh, I guess it's more prominent than what you think. I don't know if there's anything I would educate them on with ALS, because I'm still figuring it out myself.
We're skipping around a little bit now.
Are we skipping? I'm like, okay, because I got penciled in notes here.
We're going back to a little bit of the around 5.
Okay.
So before ALS, so far you've talked about how you taught the blind, how you were a mother, and you're now a grandmother, and a lot of those things define you. How would you say, how did you define yourself before diagnosis, and how do you now define yourself after diagnosis?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Because before, I told you, teacher of the deaf, special educator, that's who I was. Now, who am I? That's true. I'm nothing. This disease has taken everything. I'm not a teacher anymore. I don't need to enjoy little kids. I don't need to go to conferences, hang out with my teacher friends. And then it's hard. Because I still have that much pride.
Would you say your connection with your grandchildren has helped with that feeling of a loss of identity and not being able to spend?
Yes, it has. I get to be Gaga. So yes, it does. But that's just who I am anymore. It's totally different from who I used to be. And that's a hard pill to swallow. That's tough.
So we briefly talked about this earlier, but when
What? Sorry.
well, so when mobility or speech feels challenging, what would you say is running through your mind?
When my speech is challenging?
When your mobility or your speech is challenging, what's running through your
So
mind?
my mobility was challenging. I freaking hate this. That's what I think. What goes through my mind is like, God, why can't they do this? Why can't they fix something different? Why can't my legs just work? You know, I have braces on that supports up to my knees. God, do I need them all the way up to my butt? I don't know. But I get frustrated with that mobility stuff. I can't even pick up a piece of paper off the floor without having to get out some little doinky thing to pick it up, you know?
Would you say there's any tools or other resources that have helped make your mobility a lot easier, such as like a wheelchair, walker, so on?
Yeah, I used the walker quite a bit until this summer. Then I started using the wheelchair, and that gets me around. And we finally got a ramp put up so I could get outside now and not be so stuck in the house.
That's about it for the equipment, I guess.
So now we're about to finish up. We have the last question left. All right, where did that? You can. I'll ask it first. But you can. Do you know what you're gonna say?
What's that?
Do you know what you're gonna say?
Number 13?
Yeah. The final question after number 13.
Oh, final question. Looking ahead, how would you like your story to shape future research, care, or public perception? Oh, God. Just don't give up. Find a connection. Somebody help you work through when it's a shitty day. Don't give up. And there are crappy days and there are good days. And I do still have both. Don't just throw in the towel. I mean, when I was first diagnosed, the ALS community brought me a wheelchair, brought me a shower chair, brought me a commode, brought me a walker. I'm still walking. And I remembered those. Well, try out the wheelchair. So I tried it out, the triangle. I parked it by the garage and I just kept it in the house. And then after the guy left, it was awkward because he didn't know if he did something wrong. But after he left, I just took it on and stepped it. I had my husband put it downstairs. I don't want to see it. And now we brought it up, we use it, but I don't want to see it. They brought me this chair. It's like, I don't need that chair. I can get up off the couch just fine. And now I can't because you stop till you seek in, so I can't get up. But I just took it all downstairs. I don't want to see it. And I had somebody tell me I was being stubborn. I didn't think I was being stubborn. It just wasn't ready. Ready to accept it. Ready to say, oh, this is your life now. Not yet. Not yet. I'm getting a new power wheelchair, I guess. And so that'll be interesting. That'll be the next phase up. But, I'm not done yet. And I have moments where I'm really pissed off about this disease. It just totally ticks me off. It's like, that's not right. It's not fair. And so I stay angry sometimes. I'm also kind of defiant. It's like, I'm not throwing up towel. We're not going down. Not yet.
Is there anything else you'd like to discuss before we're done?
Let me look at a question. I think you missed. Where to go?
I jumped around a little bit.
We did. Number 13. What's one piece of advice would you offer somebody? Oh, we did talk about that, didn't we? That I would be here to listen. What would I want other people to understand about it? I think we talked on that one, but I didn't write down something different. And that was start ignoring people. You see somebody in a wheelchair, well, ignore them. They're not enjoying it any more than you are. And if it makes you feel uncomfortable seeing somebody in a wheelchair, just speak out like no. Because it is. I have people stare at me. It's awkward. I try to just blow it off or smile or make some smart aleck remark about my driver. Don't think. But, don't think. That's it, sir.
I appreciate it.
Well, thank you.